It wasn't particularly in the way he looked, but the way he acted. A few years back, when you were in primary school, you had a partner. Every year you'd be in the same class, and because of your names, you'd always be seated next to each other as partners. It didn't matter how many times they picked at random, you thought. They could shuffle our names a million times, but I bet we'd still get put together. Are you serious? His friend laughed. Kozume glared at the floor. He did this at the beginning of every year, like it's a surprise you were in the same class again. You rolled your eyes like you did every year, then you smiled. Come on, Kozume, might as well pick our seats together then. You skipped past the two boys, a smile tugging at your lips. Though Kenma unwillingly endeared your seating situation and detested it every year, it was something you looked forward to. He'd mumbled something under his breath and then followed you in, dragging his feet behind him. This is how every year started off for you, ever since the first grade. Your first year of education was brand new. You didn't know anyone yet, and you were just kids. That was the year you met Kozume. Your second year was the first year you realized you had a certain fondness for him. He, however, found you quite annoying. You were always 2 inches shorter than him, never an inch taller, and only the same height for your first year. During the break, he'd gotten taller, and you never quite reached his height again. The third year you had with him was even worse. It was the year Kozume met Kuru, and ever since then, they'd never been apart. You noticed that by watching Kozume. You never really noticed Kuru. He was always just the boy with Kozume. In your fourth year, though, Kuru spoke to you for the first time, and then he became a part of your beginning of every year routine. Kozume would look at the board, along with Kuru and yourself and your other schoolmates. Kozume would sigh and walk off, and Kuru would shrug with a calm smile and catch up with Kozume. You would look away to hide your smile. On the first day of school, Kozume would be complaining to Kuru in front of your classroom door until you got there. You would say something along the lines of, "We already know what comes next, so let's get this over with." Kuru would laugh, pat Kozume on the shoulder, and walk away. Kozume would then follow you into the classroom and would sit wherever you sat. It was a routine that you'd gotten used to, one Kozume despised. He also despised you, because in his opinion, you were an annoying bee that would not stop buzzing. Just sting already, he'd say when you were extra irritating. It was a comfortable routine. He thought that things might change when you hit secondary school. That because there were kids from other schools, it would be impossible for you two to be thrown in the same class as him. Or him yours, or at the very least you wouldn't be partners. However, he was proven wrong, and that got under his skin even more. It was like he couldn't escape you. He didn't really hate you, though he wouldn't admit it. He more hated the fact that he'd spent almost half of his school life with the same person. Your voice was stuck in his head. Your hair, your face, your stupid backpack that you never seemed to get a different color in, your everything was in there, and it annoyed the absolute hell out of him. Now you were in high school, and were ready to start off the new year strong. Of course, you were first years, and that meant you might not be in the same class as Kozume. But, yeah, right, like that would ever happen. You shook your head. Of course you would be in the same class as Kozume. You have been for 9 years now. You skipped into the schoolyard where the second and third years were setting up for an open house later tonight. The old first years were probably inside decorating their classrooms, but all that seemed to slip by your mind because, oddly, you were thinking about Kozume. He was on the volleyball team and had been ever since the 4th grade. You found a bunch of kids scattered across the hallway outside. Spotting Kozume and Kuru, you walked over toward them. A large smile was formed on Kozume's face, while Kuru sported a small frown. "Hey guys." You waved. "Kylie." Kozume smirked. It caught you off guard for a second. You never realized you were on a first-name basis with Kozume. That didn't mean you never tried saying his first name. You just never wanted to disrespect him. "Kenma?" You frowned, tilting your head. Why was he so happy? It was an odd sight. You looked at Kuru to see if he had an answer. Maybe Kozume, Kenma, it would definitely take some time getting used to though, was sick. "I'm happy to say I won't be seeing you in class tomorrow. Have a good high school life. I know I will." Then he hurried past you, his black hair swinging from side to side. "Kylie." Kuru's frown deepened. What was that all about? You frowned, looking back at Kuru. "The names, your classes." Kuru took a big breath, and for someone as usually playful as he is, that meant it had to be something serious. "What, Kuru? Just spit it out." "You're not in the same class as Kenma." "What?" You asked blankly, not really understanding what Kuru had said. "Look at the board. I'll go find him." "Huh? Weirdos," you thought, shaking your head. You turned to face the board, looking for your name, with no doubt in your mind that you'd find Kenma's right next to it. But you found your name, and Kozume Kenma's was nowhere to be found. You might have scanned that board over 100 times, coming to the same conclusion. "Oh," you said. Kids were running back and forth between you and some other first years. You couldn't think at the moment though, so you just stood there. A few minutes went by and you decided that you weren't feeling up to going to the open house. You pushed through the crowds of people. Parents were already showing up for their kids, either to pick them up or to walk around with them. For you though, you lived pretty close to the school and your parents were still at home, probably getting ready. You'd have to hurry home before they left, so you sprinted toward the front entrance. You turned the corner of the entrance, where there were tons of students and parents outside. You pushed through them all, almost out, when someone called you. "Hey, Kylie." You turned around, and there was Kenma, with Kuru, eating an icy. You made eye contact, trying to say something, trying to get a certain message across to him using it, but he didn't notice. For some reason it hurt to see him all happy about it, and for the first time ever, you didn't have the energy or will to retort. You were acutely aware of how close Kenma and Kuru were watching you, but you kept walking. The next day you went to school, your normal chipper self. You had a long talk with yourself in the bathroom last night. You kept watching the movements you made with your hands in the mirror, the way they shot across your frame to wipe away the tears that just wouldn't stop rolling down your cheeks. You cried yourself to sleep last night, unable to pinpoint exactly why. Sucking in a deep breath, you marched into the school like a champ. You found your classroom, and as you had prepared yourself last night for, there was no Kenma, no Kozume, to follow you through the door. There were 2 of your regular friends, though, and they motioned for you to join them. So you did, because what difference did it make to you if Kenma wasn't in your class? None, you shouted to yourself. Not a damn thing. Lunch came and went. You hadn't seen Kenma all day, nor had you seen Kuru. You toughed it out, and when after school came, you went home. A week passed, and it was the same. Another week passed, and you thought you were getting the hang of your new life, although you didn't allow anyone to sit next to you during lunch or partner up with you for any partner work. You were fine alone, and you would be fine without Kenma. On the 3rd week of school, Monday came. It was normal. Not the normal you were used to, but the normal you were getting used to. It was the start of a new chapter, the voice in your head told you. Now you wouldn't be held back as much and could finally start meeting new people. You smiled to yourself with newfound confidence. I can do this. Your teacher walked in and knocked on the chalkboard, gaining everyone's attention. Your partner quieted and turned to face the front. The first thought that came into your head when you saw this was, Kenma wouldn't have been talking in the first place. You quickly smacked yourself internally for comparing your new partner to your old one. Kenma wasn't like everyone else. He was weird and nerdy and kind of athletic. I bet I would have gotten a smile out of him if he were here, you annoyingly thought. Then the teacher stopped talking and cursed yourself for not listening. Kenma would have scolded me for that. He also would have probably told me what she just said, and damn it, if he was all you were going to think about, what was the point of even coming to school in the first place? You placed your head on your desk and waited for your teacher to begin speaking again, but she did not. Instead, a person came through the door. Your eyes bulged out of your head. You had no idea why he was here, but you would not let it show that you cared. You simply turned your head away. He is not new to the school, but new to this class. Why he transferred is none of your concern, but I expect you to treat him like everyone else. Because of his transfer, I'm going to have to move some people around. Please gather your things and stand in the back and wait for instructions. You stood along with the rest of your class and made your way to the back. With everyone talking, your friends going on about some boy they thought was cute, and your teacher calling out names, you couldn't ignore the change in pace your heartbeat had. Why? You kept asking. Kozume Kylie and Kozume Kenma, please sit wherever is free. You better not sit in the back. That's our spot. Some kid shouted. Your heartbeat quickened with each step you made. You could hear it as clear as a summer's day. You sat down near the window, and Kenma followed suit. It must have been a mix-up. They got it wrong at first, and that's why he's here now. You couldn't just allow yourself to go back to the way things were. You were over it and his attitude. You both set your things atop your desk and began pulling out your supplies. You didn't say anything at all. You didn't even look at him when you were told to convey with your partner about the part of the book you'd read. Kylie, he said, almost a whisper in the sea of voices. What? You didn't mean for it to come out as harsh as it did, but now that it was out, you really didn't care. I deserve that, he sighed, shifting in his chair. Look at me. Why? You hated that you couldn't just shut your mouth and ignore him. It infuriated your very being. Kylie. He'd drag out, almost like he was whining. You shifted directly in your seat and laid your eyes on him. The first thing you noticed was the hair. The second was his mouth. Then you met his eyes again. What's with the hair? You motioned toward his hair. He looked up and grabbed a strand of hair. I thought a change would suit me. Is that what he told you? Kuro laughed out, almost doubling over. It was so cute, I should have recorded it. You squealed. Is that right? Kuro looked over at Kenma, who in return glared at both of you. I wasn't that pouty. You make it sound like I was nervous or something. He huffed. Let me tell you the real reason he dyed it. Kuro eyed Kenma, whose eyes shimmered back with the intensity of a polar bear. Kuro turned back to you and then explained the conversation he'd had with Kenma over the weekend. He said he couldn't stand it. Not being with you 24/7, I mean. He said it felt weird. Now, Kuro was dodging attacks from Kenma's volleyball serves. Said it might help him stop thinking about you. If he dyed his hair? You asked, concerned. Kenma had finally run out of volleyballs and was now storming across toward the bleachers while Kuro caught his breath. If he had something else to think about. Oh, you nodded. Makes sense. You should have seen him. He wouldn't let anyone sit next to him. He was ow! Kenma chopped Kuru on the head, saying how it was urgent and they needed to get back to practice or they would lose the next game. He said this all while smirking devilishly, like he used to when he got a test and had studied for exactly everything on it. Gotta go, but let's walk home together. I'm sure Kenma is dying to— Ow! Okay, that one really hurt. Kenma dragged Kuru off by the ear, waving at you with a large smile. You laughed, all the earlier excitement in your chest never ceasing to stop. But now you know why it was going out of control, and you were sure he felt the same. It wasn't time yet. You knew it would take a little longer, but you would wait. After all, you've already waited for 9 years. What was a few more?